There's a new Targa here at Dusseldorf, and that doesn't happen every day, or every year, or every decade. So this is big news. It's got a brand new hull. It's got lots of brand new stuff, actually. It's even got a hull window, a Targa with a hull window. What is going on? We really are not in Kansas anymore, are we? Pricing £695,000 excluding VAT for a base boat. Could this be the best Targa ever? Should we go and find out? I'm Jack Haynes. Welcome to YachtBuyer. Before we get into it though, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon, and you'll never miss another tour like this one. As much as there is a lot of new stuff going on here, there's also some perfectly traditional Targa stuff going on as well. So when you board from the stern, you're met by things like these fender holders, the big thick rubbing straight that goes all the way around the boat, and also all the way around the platform. And talking of the platform, it's fixed on the stern drive version, but I believe that if you have the IPS boat in the future, you will be able to have a hydraulic platform to launch the tender if you prefer. And there's just a little inspection hatch down here on the stern drive version, so you can check the drives out on the water really easily. And then we board, as we're used to doing on a Targa. You have these split gates and you can very easily step on board into this cockpit, where I think you really feel the difference over Targas, certainly of this size, that have gone before the 41. It's a bit more luxurious, it's a bit more comfortable. Things like having backrests running all the way around both sides. There's the option to have this extra seating bench here as well. We've got seating over here. We've taken the cushion off this one because we're going to use it to go up to the Flybridge, but there is a cushion there as well. And then you have this seating over on this side and twin tables, which both stow away underneath the engine hatches when you want to clear the area. If you're doing water sports or fishing, you can have this area completely clear if you want. But it's a much more comfortable, usable space really, and you can fully enclose it as well, so you can use it in inclement weather. You'll notice a joystick behind me. This is the stern drive boat, but of course you can have a joystick with that these days. You've got one on the Flybridge, one on the Helm, and then one here if you're doing a lot of stern to mooring. That could be quite useful. And another change is that we now have proper boarding gates. Targas have always had this bit here where the rail opens up so you can disembark that way, but you have to climb over. Not anymore. Proper gates in the side here, so you can just step through onto the quayside really easily. Let's head forward. It'll come as no surprise to you if you know Targas that it feels very safe to move around this boat. Underneath my feet here, there's a big storage locker, but this can be optioned as a cooler if you want. So there isn't a fridge outside here, but you can have a cooler in the deck, so you can put food and drink out here. You don't always have to go inside the galley. And we arrive now at another big change. The size of these side doors on both sides. They are much, much larger, certainly than the 32, which is next to us, so you'll be able to see how much bigger they are. But that is a really nice way, obviously, of making it easier to get in and out, but also helping with ventilation. Right forward, past the nice big deck scuppers, we're onto the foredeck. Now, as it stands, the arrangement for the 41 will simply be comfort fore cabin as standard, Flybridge, and aft door. Going forward, you may well be able to have a forward cockpit version, one without the Flybridge, but for now, this is how they see this boat being sold, and actually it works really nicely. We'll see the benefit of that comfort cabin when we go downstairs and have a look at the interior. And here's another new element. Flush fit hatches. Look at those. You'll be able to see when we compare to the boats next to us, the older models, how much difference that makes. Just having flush fit hatches just adds a little bit more modernity. It does work very, very nicely. And then right forward, we're back to what we know. The bow anchor is actually an option. Traditionally, the Finns have the anchor on the stern, but you can option it at the bow, or you can have both if you prefer. And then forward access on off the boat is very important for the Finns. Nudging up to islands, things like that, you need to be able to board really easily. Hence why you've got this that drops down, and again, that big rubbing strake really comes into its own when you want to do that style of boating. Let's head to the Flybridge. Up to the Flybridge then, and this is relatively familiar, but again, there are little touches all over the place that just modernise things and improve the general functionality. But you have this L-shaped seating area here, got a little table here as well, finished in teak, of course. There's a two-way backrest on this seat, so this bench can be turned to face the dinette if you do want to eat up here, and actually the helm seat swivels as well, so that can turn and face the table too. So you can actually have a fair few people sitting around and using the table. Now going forward, I imagine you will have an option to extend this aft canopy like you can on the 46. Not an option at the moment, but I'm sure it probably will be. No hardtop or anything like that on a Targa, but we have got a bimini as you can see here, that gives you a bit of protection in this area when the sun's really blazing. Now in terms of actual design changes, first off, the windscreen. Rounded rails here, just all a little bit cleaner, a little bit slicker than say the Targa 46, which is sitting over there. I'm going to cut away to show you the differences. And then a new helm design. It's still very simple, very fit for purpose, but we have this pod now, and we have our chart plotters raised up and facing us, and very easy to see and interact with. Everything else really does feel very familiar Targa, apart from we've got some nice underlighting down here now as well, a little bit softer, and again it just sets the tone a little bit more than maybe we're used to. And talking of that, there are more changes of that nature in the interior, so let's head down there. And when I talk about an updated interior, it's still in the realms of Targa. There's no onyx coffee tables and marble and shiny plastics in here. It's still absolutely laden with teak, but there are new materials dotted around the place just to help brighten things, make it feel a bit cleaner and fresher. A new helm material as well. So again, little things here and there that just improve the overall feeling, and there's more of that in the cabins, as we'll see in a moment. But let's stick in the saloon and the practical stuff. The galley. So the galley is here on the starboard side, not forward like it is on some of the smaller models. So you have a decent sized galley actually with a nice amount of countertop, and stuff hides away so it's nice and clean if you're not using it. If you do want the hob, you can have gas if you want, but this one's obviously induction. And here's a clever thing they've done. You've got a sink cover. We've seen these many times before. I always complain about where you put them. Well, they've got a drawer for it. Not only that, but you've got your chopping board that also acts as a sink cover, and they've also cut this groove in here so you don't get elk blood on the carpet when you're serving it to your guests. Those clever fins. And then of course you can pop this in here and it's stashed away nice and neatly. Underneath that is the fridge, and then you have your oven, and as an option a dishwasher down there as well. And there's lots of storage built into this section here for things like your Targa branded crockery, wine glasses, and of course the all-important Targa shot glasses. We found those, they're down there. And everything is really neatly held in place. It's all fiddled because of course you will be travelling along at near 40 knots at top speed, so you want to make sure nothing's going to be rattling around and clanking away. And then we're into very familiar Targa territory with the bench here, almost a triple bench, so people can sit and enjoy the view forward. Really good headroom in this area as well. Look how high that deck head is, and notice again 3 flush fit hatches, but again that gives you a lot of versatility when it comes to ventilation, and obviously draws down a huge amount of natural light. We have the forward accommodation down here. We're going to have a proper look at that in a moment, but before we do that, let's have a look at the helm. If you've watched any of my Targa videos, you probably know what to expect from this helm. Ergonomics are great, it is a brilliant driving position, but you have the added benefit now of the double wide door. That makes such a difference, not only for getting air in here, but also if you're part of the crewing parties, the skipper, it makes it very easy to get in and out of the wheelhouse on both sides. And then there's the usual stuff like the adjustable console that you can fix in 3 different positions. Same with the wheel, that is fully adjustable. This chair is an option, the sprung chair, but it's a really good option, and that is fully adjustable as well. So whatever length you are, you're going to be able to get comfortable. And there's a bit more of a modern dash design. We have this console similar to upstairs, but a little bit bigger. We've got bigger MFDs down here as well, and a new material here. A bit more modern, but also very good at reducing glare. It's not all teak like it used to be, and actually I think it works really nicely. Now, as I said, stern drive or IPS options, twin 440 horsepower stern drives or twin 480 horsepower IPS. They're both going to do about 40 knots flat out, and you can cruise from anywhere probably between 25, 35 knots, depends how much of a hurry you're in. But it'll be typical Targa stuff, no doubt. We will find out in a sea trial later on in the year, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Let's check out the cabins. It may say 41 on the side, but this is actually more like 45 feet length overall, and it's the same beam as the 46, and you really feel that up here. I'd say this cabin actually feels more spacious than the forward cabin on the 46, and part of that is down to that comfort fore cabin arrangement, and that really is the benefit. Yes, you lose that front cockpit that you can get on the smaller Targas, but it's so worth it for the space down here. This feels like a proper owner's cabin. It drops down another step here as well, so headroom improves even more, but it's still very, very good, even in this entranceway where you might be getting your clothes out the wardrobe or using these cupboards here. The berth is clearly a very good size, and those flush fit hatches do, well, not inside a shed in Dusseldorf, but they would bring down a nice amount of natural light, and you've got the little opening ports on either side as well. And the other thing to mention is the size of the bathroom down here. It's got a really nice private ensuite. On that note, let's head aft and check out the guest cabin. Now this again looks familiar. We've seen this design on so many Targas, but again they've made little changes that really improve the space. That's best demonstrated probably by sitting inside the cabin, because what they've done is quite simple. They've removed the partition that is normally down the middle of these cabins, which does section off that berth, but it doesn't half make them feel dark and claustrophobic. Removing that really does transform the feeling of space down here. It feels so much more welcoming and usable really, and comfortable. And of course this is where we get the benefit of the drum roll hull window. This is where they align, so there's way more natural light down here than there has been before, and this is obviously still a really good sized berth. That's almost a small double next door, but absolutely perfect for kids. It turns this space into a really usable cabin, and of course it has its own ensuite as well. That will work as the day heads. It's not enormous, it's probably the most compromised part of the accommodation. If you're a big unit, it's going to be hard to have a shower in there. But talking of big units, should we have a look at the engines? You can still open this hatch despite having the extra seat here. It makes it quite a lot heavier, and you have to remove the tables to open both. But you can obviously open this starboard one really easily with the table removed. So that just fires up on a couple of gas rams. There's that storage I talked about earlier for tables and chairs and things like that. Both of those have it, so you can store stuff underneath both. And then it's quite easy to step down onto the engine and in to the engine room. Now, really not altogether that different at first glance to what you'd expect from Targa, but they have re-engineered it to try and make it as quiet as possible inside the accommodation, beefed up the sound insulation, all that sort of stuff to make high-speed running as quiet as possible. Once you're down here, inspecting the engines really couldn't be easier. This is the stern drive, obviously, so they're set a little bit further back, but that just means you have a nice amount of space forward to be able to crouch down, inspect both of them. You can get to the dipsticks easily. Raw water strainers, if you have the generator, that's nicely positioned over there on the port side. And just look how neat and tidy everything is. At a glance, you can so easily check if anything isn't how it's supposed to be. You can see all your fluids really easily. It's a very easy boat to look after. So is this going to be the best Targa ever? Well, of course, we can't confirm that until we've driven it, which we're hoping to do very soon. So as I said, subscribe now so you don't miss the sea trial, and let me know what you think about the boat in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think of the brand new Targa 41. And if you want to watch some more Targa content, we sea trialed the flagship 46. I'll put that for you up here. If you'd like to subscribe, you can click up here. Thanks again for watching. I'm Jack Haynes. This is YachtBuyer.